Are you an entrepreneur or ready to become a boss? Welcome to Hawaii Boss, the business podcast made in Hawaii, where you will hear from island movers and shakers on who they are and their impact on our state. And now, step into the office of your host for Hawaii Boss, David Pettijohn.
Aloha, Hawaii Boss podcast crew out there listening in, those faithful listeners out there listening into the Hawaii Boss as we meet new people every day, every week, and get to share those folks with you, those folks that are making an impact in Hawaii. And the visit that we had this week with Mr. Ryno Irwin, who is the president and founder of, along with his father as his business partner, they founded Hawaii Unified, where if you've heard the phrase, jack of all trades, master of none, well, we can say that he's a jack of all trades, but I think he's mastered all of them and being able to bring all those trades and folks together and service and trades individuals and bringing that back and bringing those services to Hawaii in a way that only someone from Hawaii and stationed and set in Hawaii can do. He's offered and worked for some of the biggest names in the retail industry. But he's come back to Hawaii and making sure that he creates a sustainable and aloha-filled Hawaii for himself, his family, and for the people that work with him. A great boss. We're excited to listen and hear from Ryno Irwin this week. Aloha, everybody. Have a great weekend. Aloha, Hawaii Boss podcast crew out there listening in. We're back on the West Side again. We are talking to a very special guest today, the CEO of Hawaii Unified, Mr. Ryno Irwin is here with us today. And if you're not sure what Hawaii Unified is, you'll know by the end of it. It's a very special mix of different things that provide support and services for folks who need to build construction management, energy management, sustainable Hawaii trades. I think might be the best of it, but maybe Ryno can help us explain a little bit better about how that is. Welcome, Mr. Irwin.
Thank you, David. Yeah, thank you for having me on the Hawaii Boss podcast. Very stoked to be here and grateful. Thank you.
For sure. So yeah, we're curious. Hawaii Unified. It's I did a terrible job trying to explain it because again, I'm not in that industry, but maybe you can tell us, really what Hawaii Unified is and what you're trying to accomplish as the CEO of that organization.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely been an evolution business. We weren't born Hawaii Unified. We grew into and became Hawaii Unified over time.
Okay.
And that was just a common accumulation of all the different trades and types of services that we were offering. We got to a point where we had it segregated departments and we wanted to unify them into one. And so that's how we came up with the name is Hawaii Unified, so we could be a holistic solution.
Right. So let's talk about that. There's different solution components that you provide. So you before you were thinking, that's what we used to call siloed. You've got this part does this part over here and this does this over here, but maybe if they work together, they might be able to work a little bit better together. But so let's talk about the individual parts of the business that is Hawaii Unified.
Sure. Yeah, I think in order to do that, we got to kind of look at the origin of the business. My dad and I started the company back in 2006. We got this great idea to try and help the retail stores that were coming into Hawaii to help them do their build outs.
Okay.
And my dad had a construction background and I had a background in retail services. And so we kind of combined those two skill sets and knowledge bases. And we started working with a few of the Fortune 500 companies doing some build outs. And then it was
I'll slow you down for a second. Build outs, again, me, the non-construction guy. So a build out like a long store wants to come in, but you go and build the building first for the longs, then the company to come in, something like that, or?
Yeah, similar, except that we would walk into the shell. So we would do all the interior build out. We would put in all the dressing rooms, all the registers, all the fixtures, things
sort of
like
the finish job guys. Okay, good. Now we know. Again, build out. There's we're all learning.
Yes.
Okay.
And so because that we did that work, a part of the contract is you're on the hook for a year for any kind of warranty issues that pop up. So again, it was just kind of right time, right place. And so the customers asked us if we could just continue managing the facilities for them because they didn't have a good contractor base in Hawaii. So we were able to obtain these facility management contracts where basically anything happens in the store, whether it's painting, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, they wanted to have a reliable resource here in Hawaii that they could call, and then we would just handle it and get it fixed.
Right. So that's nice that you built it, and then there's a warranty for the warranty period. You have it covered, but then after that, you've got this other resource again, especially to be able to do all those little different kinds of things all under one roof. Facilities management. There's always, I mean, because there's so many different skill sets that are involved with that. It's not just one thing. I'm an electrician. So what's the difference between just I'm an electrician and I'm a facilities manager? What's the difference there?
It's very similar to property management, in the real estate industry, but for retail specifically, the name of our company at the time was Hawaii Retail Services. So we were very focused on the retail market. But what it is that you had these agreements in place where anything happens, you had to be on site at any of their locations in the state within 2 hours in order to address the problem. So we had to have a subcontractor base across the islands to be able to facilitate that. Mm-hmm. And that's, what we worked to get, but what we realized over time is really the only way for us to meet our contractual obligations was to build our own self-performing workforce, because it was very hard, especially at that time, to depend on subcontractors to get the work done that we needed in the time span that we needed to do it.
So, like when you have a subcontractor that, you're kind of you contract with them and they say, well, I can get it done in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, or maybe 4 weeks turns into 5 or 6, or the guy never calls you back, or I don't know if that's ever happened to you when you're trying to get something done. Yeah. No callbacks. And then, well, I thought you were coming today. And then that slows everything down. So when you say what'd you say, self-managing?
Self-perform is the industry terminology. Yeah.
Self-perform. So meaning that you employ those skilled tradespeople to get the job done.
That's right. And so, we had to acquire the appropriate licenses. So we had our general contractor's license, but then we had to onboard a plumbing license, electrical license, door license, all these, other trades to be able to perform the work ourselves and hire our own in-house techs as much as possible.
Well, I guess when you're self-performing like that too, I guess the scope of the work that you're able to do then also increases because you have all these other skilled players to be able to assist. You could bid for different, more projects, I suppose.
Yeah, but it comes with its inherent challenges too, because you got to have the professional tradesman that really knows that trade in and out on your staff as well to be able to provide those expertise.
Yeah, not only someone that has the license or the certification, but someone actually has some experience in executing and getting it done, right? And
absolutely,
not just hey, I fix toilets for me. I'm a plumber. I fix toilets. I don't go and design a plumbing setup for this new build. That's not what I do.
Exactly.
So bringing that's impressive. So take us back a little bit. We'll talk more about your business. Take us back a little bit. You were in construction, or your dad was in construction, but you were in retail. How come you didn't go into construction?
Well, actually, my dad by trade was a helicopter pilot, and that's that's how he did construction when he was young. Became a helicopter pilot, and then he took a job in Maui when I was about 7. And so I moved with him to Maui so he could fly air tours, and I started school there. And it was really kind of how I got here. And then
so you've been in Hawaii ever since you were 7?
Pretty much. I had a hiatus. Hawaii was a different place back then. It was a little bit tougher for Halle boys.
Oh, Maui for sure.
Yeah. So When I got to the age to go to high school, I made the choice to go to California to go to high school for 4 years. And then I came back to Maui to go to Maui Community College. And so that's how I got back to the islands.
Okay. Well, yeah, it's tough to learn when you're fighting all the time. If you gotta fight a little bit. I went to Konawaina School on the Big Island, possibly the same time frame, but for a little bit. Yeah, it was interesting times. Yeah, you learned how to adapt.
Yes.
So awesome. Yeah, Maui and then community college. What did you study in community college? My daughter says, sorry, I have to say, my daughter says, oh, community college. I said, there's lots of great things. I went to community college first to get, basic stuff, your core things done. I really appreciate community college. What did you study?
I was going for computer science and internet marketing at the time. But like you said, I was doing my general studies first. And during that time span, I don't know if you remember, we had a hardware store called Eagle Hardware back then.
Okay, I've heard that. Yeah.
Where Lowe's is now in Waipio, that used to be an Eagle. And Maui had the same. We had an Eagle Hardware. Well, Lowe's had come and bought them out. I was in college just going into a summer. And I got a call from a friend in the mainland that asked if I wanted to do some work helping transition the store from an Eagle store to a Lowe's store.
That's the retail management part.
That's how
the brand swapping in and out their brands and stuff.
Exactly. That's how I first got my first kind of big break, and started doing that. And I took it as just a part-time summer job, and asked a couple friends to help me out because it started to get bigger on ongoing services. They kept asking me to come in and do more. They call them resets, where you take out old products, change the display, put in new displays, things like that.
So you had to have a couple of hustlers with you, right? You can't do it on your own, but you also don't want someone who's like, oh, let's stand around. What are we going to do today?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was really fortunate because I had one of my friends from high school move out and kind of help me in that. It started out just to be a little business. I actually got the opportunity during the summer. They called me and said, hey, we're doing about 15 more of these change outs. We've in Washington and Utah and Oregon. Would you like to come and lead them?
Mm-hmm.
And so I was about 21 at the time. And I thought, yeah, it's a good opportunity.
Yeah. So
I went to Washington and did all these new store resets and ran a temp crew, and every store that I went to, everyone I met there, you would see the same vendors at each store, and they always say, oh, you're the guy from Hawaii.
Right.
There's no one in Hawaii that can take care of our products out there because we just don't have any contacts. And so I just took their business card and got back and had a stack like this, and decided I would just give them all a call and see if they needed any help. And that turned into a little fledgling business in college.
So it was in college when you were, after you got back from doing that sort of this, what are they, the setups, the resets in these different areas?
Summer tour, basically.
Yeah, the summer tour, basically, but you got tons of experience. And listen, I'm still trying to figure out a 21-year-old kid right now. I'm looking at my son, he's 24. 21, could they pull off, you must have had some, this ability to, did you know the people that you had a crew with and you went and did that? Those were your friends that went with you, or you had a sort of these temp guys that you just picked up and you learned how to manage them?
I got the most interesting characters of them all through that experience. They're all temps. So, you'd be lucky if when you got to the next location, if you had one of the same guys or ladies. Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, that makes it interesting for sure. So yeah, you have to sort of be think on your feet, and if someone doesn't show or someone is there to help you but can't work, I guess you have to find a workaround. And I guess after a while, you want people, instead of having to find a workaround, you want people around you that are going to actually do the job and consistently can contribute. So how did you finally start narrowing down, or sort of, because you realize that if I keep going through all these temps or whatever, maybe there's a more solid way, then that's how you sort of brought it all in-house that way. But how did you, have you had to sort of reshuffle things and to create, that team that you're looking for?
Well, when I got back to Maui and I started working for some of these companies that I made a relationship with on the road.
Mm-hmm.
I was doing, every day after school, I'd have a couple friends and we'd do whatever work needed to be done that was assigned to us. And then it kept growing. And then what happened was they asked me to take care of the store in Waipio, because I was living on Maui at the time, obviously. And it was kind of a unique situation because I was only 21. I would take a flight over, but I'd have to catch the bus to Waipio because I couldn't rent a car. I wasn't 25. So we would do the work over there.
Hundreds of $1,000 operation here and you can't rent a car.
Yeah. So, and it was just getting taxing. And, I was kind of just thinking things through. And then it was actually September 11th, 2001.
Oh, wow.
We know the day. Yeah. And we saw it on the news, or I saw it on the news. I went down to school and my teacher at the time had it on the news. And he said, it's 9/11, look at what's happening. Why are you here at school? And I just it just made a little light bulb go off in my head. Like, why am I here at school?
Right.
And so I kind of just started rethinking things. And I really came to this pivotal point, like either I got to try and run a business or I've got to finish school, but I can't do both at the same time because it's just becoming,
you can't really contribute them. You can't give 100% to either one of them, and none of them get completed like you want to. So, yeah. So you chose.
So 9/11 was my last day of college.
Okay. So it was a different marker for you, but also sort of like helped you to, I think a lot of us asked that question at that time, like, okay, what's important, or what is my, what's really am I trying to do here? And what's, how can I be, what makes the most sense? And sometimes, those kind of tragic events sort of help us to sort of shock us out of those kind of things. And so from then on, that's when you concentrated on your business, and it's been one thing after another. You say one iteration after another. It hasn't always been Hawaii Unified, but looking at it now across that, that whole spectrum, I know there's been challenges in Hawaii when, like 2008, there was, this disruption, big, crisis. What do they call that? The Great Recession, I believe they called it at the time. So, I mean, I know the construction trades were impacted dramatically. I remember hearing stories about people, leaving the island and selling off their tools, and they were gone. And then having those, we couldn't find tradesmen for, and women for years. And so what did that impact for you?
Well, so that business that I had, I did for about 5 years till 2006. And my primary customer became Home Depot. And it was a subcontractor of Home Depot, and they were giving me about 90% of my business. And they finally came in and said, hey, we're going to just take over Hawaii, or we're going to buy you out. So you have a choice. So basically I took a very big bite of humble pie. I sold the business of a tenth of what I thought it was worth, but when you only have one customer and they're the ones saying they're going to purchase it, you don't have much choice.
Right.
So I took that small little nest egg, and that's when I started Hawaii Retail Services with my dad as my partner. He had retired from flying. And we figured, hey, I know the retail business, and he knew construction. And so that's how we started that. And our big break came from Verizon Wireless. They gave us our first account. And then the second big account that we got after them was Ross Dress for Less, which looking back, I thank God for that opportunity, because if you remember when things were going down in the economy, Ross was going way up because people that used to shop at Macy's, Nordstrom started shopping at Ross.
Right.
So Ross really looked at that as an opportunity where they wanted to, rebrand themselves and try, and now that they've got this new market share, they wanted to keep them. And so they hired our company, one of our first big breaks, to remodel all 12 of the Ross stores here in Hawaii. And so,
and there's been more that's added on since then throughout the islands.
Yes. And we did a lot of those interior build outs, but where we really got the big break in 2009, the head of construction came out to Hawaii to look at the work. And he said, I think you guys are doing better construction work than we're getting the mainland. Would you like to come out to the mainland to do some work for us? And so I said, yeah, absolutely. And then my dad basically gave me an elbow in the ribs and said, what the heck are you thinking?
Right. Yeah. Cause what was the risk then? So what was that discussion? because you were ready to go, but what was the smarter, what ultimately happened?
Well, having your dad as your business partner is a very unique dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
We were equal partners at the time, and he's my dad. So of course you respect what he tells you, but sometimes
he's got the 51%, right?
Yeah. Just just with the dad title. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And, but what I learned about my dad is, as a helicopter pilot by trade, he's always looking for something to go wrong. He's listening for something, looking for something, feeling for something to happen. Me, on the other hand, I'm kind of like rush in and let's get it figured out and we can make it happen. So it made a really good dynamic, but we had our challenges too, and just, the direction we were going.
Yeah. Someone who's a little bit risk averse, they're like, okay, we got to be careful here. But then the other one is like, so it's actually a good dynamic in a team.
A yin and yang. Yeah. He definitely kept me from making some big mistakes, but also I think that I pushed him to do things that, he wouldn't have been willing to do.
For sure. Well, I think that's neat that there's not a lot of people that have that opportunity to work with their father, or that's able to. My parents were bakers, and I love my dad, but getting up at that early in the morning and trying to make donuts and things like that, I couldn't. There was no way. So, so sometimes you want to, you can, if you have that certain set too, especially too that you integrated in the way that he had construction and you had this other. This other retail business side and acumen that you were able to bring to the table. So, after you come out of that and you decided not to go to the mainland, it sounds like.
Oh, no, we went.
Okay.
We went. Yeah, we ended up from 2009 to 2013. We remodeled over 480 Ross stores across the United States.
Okay. So sometimes you don't know the hookups you can get from Hawaii. If you're doing a good job in Hawaii, that's why, that all of a sudden that, hey, they love that, anyone who, well, it doesn't matter where you're from. If you've got a skill set and you can do it well, then it pays for itself.
That's right.
So then you bring all that experience. Now you know how to crack teams and you know how to hustle through, your systems are getting better too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so now you bring that back home, or maybe it's not home yet. What's the next adventure? Was it straight home?
No, we had another company that was interested in acquiring our company that was based in California at the time. My dad, he got diagnosed with terminal cancer, and so he thought, I better find an exit plan. So we worked it out where I took over the business, and he was able to retire. And thank God he's still alive today, beat all the odds from
That's
cancer.
great.
But he's still going. He's an amazing man, tough cookie, man.
Well, it's nice that you get to keep talking business with him, talk shop a little bit.
I still have to go to him and get his advice quite a bit. And, definitely.
That's
Doesn't
awesome.
always, agree with things, but he definitely gives me some great insight.
Right. So now you've come back and you've built this Hawaii Unified and just like that time on, 2001, September 11th, has there been any other, times when now I've got to, we've been doing these little businesses. What was the epiphany to sort of wrap all of this together? Was there some sort of thing that said, hey, listen, we need to really dial this in?
Yeah, absolutely. So I took the full reins. My dad retired in 2013, and I was lucky enough, the same friend that came out and helped me from California actually called me and said, hey, do you need me to come out and help you with the operations? So I took him up on that, because when you lose your most trusted partner, my father, you need to find your next most trusted partner, which is my best friend. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he came out, he's a really good operator. And, we were looking at the business and how things were being run, having these silos, as you say, of departments to try and fulfill all of our services. And we realized that probably the best thing we can do to make it as efficient as possible is kind of unify everything under one umbrella and really be able to provide a holistic solution, but also, keep everything as efficient as possible. So.
Sure. And so what types of things have you done? Using technology, what kinds of things have helped you to sort of help your operation run smoothly?
I think technology and just getting the people within the company to work together, as opposed to seeing as departments as almost, I don't want to say adversarial, but just like siloed, like you said,
Right.
closed off,
Yeah.
separated.
Yeah. This group has one agenda. This group has another agenda, but somehow there should be a matching of agendas along the way somewhere. Well, that's the challenge I think with any organization. But again, it's unique for you. What are the major products and services that you're providing right now? I mean, knowing that again, it's brought all this to one belt and you've under one sort of roof, and you've tried to create these sort of synergies, I think, whatever they call them, blah blah blah. All this stuff that we're trying to build together, and you're trying to do things together. What as you've moved towards that, how do you measure that? How are you getting better at it? Is there something, is it customer? Do you get customer feedback? What's the best way to know if you're doing okay in your experience? How are you evaluating your services to see if they're, what you expect them to be?
Well, yeah, it's kind of a two-part question. So,
sure.
So I think, the fact that we were doing the facility management kind of brought us into other areas. Like for instance, commercial doors, like we didn't ever do commercial doors, but one of our customers, Long's Drugs, which is CVS.
Sure.
We couldn't get anybody to come out and fix their doors for them. So they said, hey, if you can't fix our doors, we're going to take the whole contract from you.
Sure.
So we had to bring in an expert that knew how to do these automatic doors. And so they taught us, taught our people in-house how to do them. And we became door contractors. And so along the same lines, we got into energy. And so we got into energy efficiency, lighting, HVAC control stuff. And then we made this natural kind of evolution to getting into solar generation or power generation through solar. So
do you do
that became a big part.
Smart homes too? Now that seems like another where security, I mean, you could do, it seems like when you're engaged in these customers, there's so many different needs that each one of them has. It seems like you could do almost anything. How do you not get into too much stuff?
Exactly. And
how do you decide?
And that's a disease I have, that I have to make sure that I keep grounded. And that's why, between my president and my father, that, they try and keep me focused to say, hey, let's just do the things that we're really good at. So we've boiled the business down to basically construction, energy, and facility maintenance.
Okay.
And then within those, the trades kind of work along all those lines. You can in construction, you're using plumbing, you're using electrical, HVAC.
Sure.
In energy, you're doing plumbing, electrical, HVAC.
Right.
And same with the facility maintenance. So it's all kind of intertwined.
So I see that. Yeah, you have different sort of groups that do different, engage in different business opportunities. And so, but then the central group of the trades folks sort of support each of those entities. It's kind of a very cool concept. And your webpage is Hawaii Unified, because it's really very cool what it has on your webpage. Is it .org? I apologize.
.com, yeah.
.com, sorry. HawaiiUnified.com. Very cool, because it has, again, talks about you guys and a little bit of your history, but also the different things. And it's really a long list of the different things that you folks do. So sort of a one-stop shop is, I guess you might call it.
Yeah.
Now tell me, how do you now, what is the business like coming out of COVID and things? There's still needs for all these facilities are getting hammered. Some of these more than others. Maybe you should get into the McDonald's ice cream. No, just kidding. No, but what kind of things are coming up now that you're finding people are asking you for?
Well, when we started doing the energy, that kind of became a personal passion of mine, and I really wanted to learn everything that I could learn about it.
Okay.
And so I really dove into it head first. I had some really great mentors, my brother-in-law being one, master electrician, taught me a lot about solar and things like that. So, but when we started doing commercial energy and doing commercial projects, Time Stores, Leeward Community College. We built the solar systems on these places.
Sure.
And we kind of were looking at other businesses and signing contracts to build large solar projects for these other businesses. And then all of a sudden, what I call COVID Monday hit.
Oh no.
When it was a reality, COVID was here. There's just this somber feeling coming into work. Everyone was, kind of wondering what's going to happen.
Right.
I was very, very fortunate because I got an invite the week before to go to a conference in Maui that's called, the name of the conference is called Increase. It's actually a Christian church conference about increasing your success. And it was just a weird conference to go to because everyone heard the rumblings of COVID.
Right.
But yet, the whole basis of the conference is like, to stay confident and to always be thinking with an increased mindset. And so that's how I came into COVID Monday, is saying, hey, you know what, this is going to be a time that we got to increase, not decrease. And we had to make some decreases, organically, but we had to kind of pivot our business to set ourselves up to increase for the long term.
Right. And that's the thing is you can't, sometimes if you got to get light for a period in order to really, because again, if you continue in the same way, any type of business interruptions like this, there could be hurricanes or whatever, but this is a long-term sustained type of interruption. If you can't continue to carry the weight, or you'll spend all your money away and then you won't have the business anymore. And so you do have to adjust, even though it's tight, but then you can, like you say, if you do it right and quickly and respond quickly enough, then you'll have the resources when things start coming around, or when the things change, and they can change anytime. We've seen this roller coaster this last year, all of us have tried to adapt. And so I guess business as usual for you then, since, you were like, this is where we increase. What kind of things did you see throughout, different projects? I saw a lot of different projects start to happen because there were no people around.
Yeah, it was interesting for us because our facility maintenance side of the business, we typically have about 400 or 500 work orders that are in our pipeline every single day. And then within 2 days, that number got cut down to about 100.
Oh, okay.
So we had massive cancellations. And then our commercial solar projects, about 4 of the large ones that we had all got shelved indefinitely because they were, they didn't know if they were going to have a business or how much revenue they were going to have, and should be spending capital, improvement.
Everything froze. It was like frozen.
Yeah. So we looked at, what type of talent do we have? What opportunities we had? We were doing some residential solar at the time, but it was probably about, 10-15% of our business. But what we saw is that suddenly saving money became a very big objective for homeowners and the residents. So that's where we really applied our focus, and that's where we really were able to grow our business.
So tell us about, I know there's different, when solar, I see all these Tesla batteries out there on Facebook, got my Tesla batteries, but for some of us who already have the UV up there, I don't think we can qualify for, there's some, rebates and different things. Tell us what's available right now for folks if they want to get in solar, your sort of your elevator edition of like, hey, if I want to get solar, what do I do?
Well, it sounds kind of cliche, but it really is the no-brainer in Hawaii because, our electricity costs are the highest in the nation, and you can basically get solar right now for no money down. And your payments to pay for it are going to be less than you're paying the utility. So, and then
once the payment's over, once that's finished, then you own it, and then all you're paying then is whatever residual you don't cover on your electricity.
Correct. Yeah. So even people that have solar, they were the early adopters. There's a great opportunity for them now that they can actually add more solar, because the natural human progression is that when you have solar, you end up using more energy, ironically enough.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the system that they bought, maybe 7 years ago isn't enough to power their needs today. So it's a good opportunity for them to add solar and add battery, because HECO just brought a program out where basically they'll give you an incentive to add a battery to your system.
Okay.
If they can access that battery in their time of need to help augment the required demand energy.
Gotcha. So we're just adding to their network.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right. Well, there's some benefits to that. Again,
Yeah.
the cost, if that helps the cost to go down.
It does. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. So again, saving money, and then, but again, it sounds like you've dialed some things in here with the solar. It's been a good things, looking at your history and things, but you're kind of give me the vibe that you're wanting to figure something else out next. What's the?
No, I think it was really interesting for me to pivot my focus onto residential solar. My president and partner, Mike, who I mentioned before, my best friend, he really was great at continuing to keep the focus on the facility maintenance and construction side. And that's picked back up now as, we've opened back up, and, stores and businesses are opening. They need to get repairs done and need to make their places presentable for customers. So that's been really good. But what I've realized is that I've come to have a passion for homeowners in general, just specifically because, we have these big lofty goals as a state about 2045, 100% renewable energy.
Right.
But, if the homeowners don't go solar, and the people and the residents don't go solar, they're not really going to get all the benefits of the state going 100% renewable energy. They're not going to get the savings that are associated with that. So I've really enjoyed helping homeowners. Yeah.
Again, and it's so expensive. The housing might as well got to cut it somewhere. Boy.
Yes.
And that electricity bill is no joke when that comes around the corner.
It's just not. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a big part of everyone's expense.
So they go to hawaiiunified.com and find out more, and be able to call and get a quote or whatever. They can come out. You guys come out, I'm sure, take a look, give them, do the professional workup and let folks know how it works and some of the benefits. And do some people really, kind of like, okay, is this really going to work? Or pretty much everybody's kind of gets it. Oh yeah, this makes a lot of sense.
Well, it has one of those things like too good to be true type of things associated with it. But I think, there's so much solar adoption that's happened in Hawaii. It's like, well, if it's working for my neighbor, it should work for me too. So I think people become believers now.
Just as long as they don't all have a Tesla in the park, in the garage too. There are so many of those things running around anyway.
Yeah. So that even more the needs are going to grow. And and then the other aspect of working with us, which I am proud of, is that we're really focused on developing the workforce. Again, there's a big excitement about 2045, 100% renewable energy Hawaii, but what no one is talking about is where is the workforce to build it, because we don't have it here right now. And so that means
it sounds like we have to, sometimes we're importing sort of labor from the mainland in order to do some of these installs and things like that.
Absolutely we are. And then, the companies that are coming over here and doing that, and they're saying that, that we're using some of the labor off the bench at the union or we're not, which is good. But ultimately, it doesn't provide, middle management and all the other associated positions that are involved in running a company. That's all back in the mainland. So I kind of coined a phrase saying, it's great. They come here, they take the sun, and then they run back to the mainland with the money. Right.
Yeah. And that's an issue I think a lot of people have with folks from the mainland. And another reason why I think folks who live in Hawaii and want to keep a sustainable Hawaii, that we need to be the ones who are creating these businesses and opportunities. We have the know-how. We have to bring, we're fortunate to have folks like you, the small business. Basically, we consider this a small business owner, small to larger-ish, for Hawaii, a business. And we want, because it's sustainable. And that's one of the things that you say in your thing, that every person who works for you is living in Hawaii.
Absolutely. Yep.
Right. Yeah. Yep. And so developing the workforce too. So training is another aspect that you hope to do, because right now you've got a team, but then you probably got more orders than you have teammates to go and fill these orders right now.
It's always a challenge. Yeah. Having the people with the skill set to do the job. And so, my wife, she runs the Makaha Learning Center, which I know that you profiled her.
Right. Very, I mean, a great thing that you're taking the folks, you know, who are living and going to be living here and they have family here and that have a lot of reason to stick around, but they just need to be matched with those, you know, those trades that could interest them. And then also then a pipeline of jobs that doesn't take them away from Hawaii.
Absolutely.
So, yeah. So, but there's a lot of people. So I'm glad you're bringing this up, but you know, how do people get that message? What this sort of this sustainable Hawaii, where does this come from for you?
I think it's just been living here, you know, for so long. And I came and moved from Maui to Makaha. I just happenstance on falling into Makaha of all places. Met my wife over here. And, you know, I just see the need to really make a sustainable place. I do see so many people on the islands in general leaving, which is concerning, and they're usually leaving for a better opportunity.
Right.
And so, you know, sustainability isn't just about green energy. It's being able to sustain your lifestyle in the place that you were born or grew up, you know, so that's what we're trying to help that happen.
For sure. Yeah. Folks are considering leaving Hawaii where they go to school and then they finish, or they go to the mainland of school and then they stay there because the cost is just, I mean, it's expensive, but then also they don't, the jobs, there's not the same type of jobs there, especially with construction. But it sounds like there's this wave of construction that's happening. I know there's a new veterans home going up in Kapolei. And then there's, you know, they're going to do something with the stadium, Aloha Stadium, and different things. So, and then of course, all the solar that you're doing right now, there's just going to be this continued need. How many people are you, you know, do you think the trades are going to need? I mean, are we generating like hundreds of people, or we need thousands of people?
We're going to need hundreds and then eventually thousands. I mean, if we're really going to meet these needs and not import labor and talent, then we need thousands of qualified people. And
a house that they can afford, that they don't have to stack 3 families high to live in. So
yeah, I mean, that's what I love about the trades, is it really does give an individual an opportunity to make a living that they can actually have a decent lifestyle on, you know, without having the college education. And I'm very thankful for the couple of years of college I got, because I use it every day. But at the same time, you know, I'm thankful for all the trades that I've learned over the years to be able to apply. And, you know, I have trades guys in our company that I'm looking at what they make in an hour, and I times it by 40 hours a week and 52 weeks a year. And I'm like, wow, this guy's making more money than me. Yeah,
they're doing okay. That's what I tell my kids now. Like, I went to school and I'm doing this, but I said, you know, you guys learn low voltage and how to read a diagram, and you're going to be just fine. Fire alarms, I mean, safety and security systems. And I'm like, and they can never find guys that can run these things, or that can do the tests on them or anything. And so, it's interesting. So again, I like the sort of like Mike Rowe, who said, you know, I don't know, these trades are important, you know, the dirty jobs or whatever like that. But, you know, this is what makes the builders and the fixers. Boy, if we didn't have that, you know, we got some problems, and we'd be living with, you know, our houses falling down and all this stuff. So again, a lot of respect for the construction trades and also for the work that you're doing to sort of bring this to light, that you're also, you know, helping and creating. It feels like this, it all vibes sort of with what you're doing. Okay. And you're looking towards the sustainability, energy, and you're trying to meet the goals of the state of Hawaii. And so, but it seems like you couldn't do it if you didn't have a passion for this. It's sort of this is sort of culminated into this sort of your life passion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I've pretty much have come to the conclusion that my biggest job as the CEO or owner of the company is to protect the jobs for the people that work here and create more opportunity for them. Because
sure, you
know, if I don't have jobs for them, then that means I'm not doing a good job at my job. So
right. Yeah. Well, again, that's that. Again, looking out for your people. Another great example of a great boss, and we're excited that you had this opportunity to discuss what you do at Hawaii Unified. But before we let you go, Ryno, we need to ask a few questions before you loosen up a little bit. We do a pauhana. We kind of at the end and kind of try and figure some things out. So where'd you meet your wife?
In my neighborhood. I actually had, I bought a house in the neighborhood that my parents live.
Mhm.
And my parents said it would be a good idea to have a house blessing. And ironically, I was actually praying for a good, beautiful girl with morals.
Uh-huh.
And this guy brought his daughter to my house blessing, and she caught my eye, and I definitely wanted to get her number, and pursued her.
For sure. Well, hey, that's another hallmark of a boss, that, you don't let those opportunities just slide by. You once you see something that you have to pursue it. There's a courting process, of course,
Oh yeah.
we have to,
Definitely.
but awesome. So, but also, again, moving to Maui or Oahu, do you have any favorite, now that you've lived over here probably longer than you were in Maui, but pluses of living on Maui instead of, would you prefer Maui if you could?
I get asked this question a lot. Makaha has become my home.
Okay.
And my heart is here in Makaha. Of course, when I go back to Maui, there's a lot of great memories there. But it's a different place than where I grew up. It's
Sure.
been commercialized a lot. So I miss what Maui was when I was a kid. But for in today's time, I would rather be here.
Here, because what you've built is here, and that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, there's a lot of things that have transitioned in Hawaii, and for the better. There's question about it. All the sugar, cane fields, all those fields are gone. They're not producing anymore in Maui. Sort of a couple of years ago, the last sort of producing field ended, and so a lot of things going away. And that's, I think, what we're trying to do here on Hawaii Boss and meeting with folks like you, is to make sure that the things that we really want to keep around, that are meaningful, that they don't just sort of slip away into this sort of commercial thing, and we continue to maintain Hawaii's, aloha as we move forward.
We have to protect it. Yeah.
Right. And it's important, very important. So
absolutely.
Well, hey, Ryno, it's been a pleasure talking with you, and hope business continues to go well and booming. And hopefully we see a nice big project with Hawaii Unified on it coming to your neck of the woods soon.
Thank you very much, David. Yeah, I appreciate it. It was great talking with you as well.
Good talking with you. Until next time, ahui ho.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Make sure to subscribe to Hawaii Boss and follow us on social media at Hawaii Boss Podcast at the links in the description. We'll see you soon in the boss's office.